Good morning, friends. I hope you're doing good. I thought I would do a short video today on my 70-20-10. It's sort of a kind of time investment strategy that I was taught sort of during some of the education training I did last year and this year, sort of by Progressive Property, and it's been quite useful in terms of helping sort of guide how I spend my time, and I think there's some pretty good positives for it. So I thought I'd explain sort of what I do. And potentially, if you're doing it already, it'd be quite interesting to find out what your sort of 70-20-10 is. And if not, maybe it'll sort of inspire you to potentially consider doing it yourself. So we'll jump over to the PowerPoint as always. And if I can find where I put it, there it is. Yeah, really quick today. Contents are going to be pretty simple, which is going to be a quick introduction, my 70-20-10. And sort of, yeah, I've got opportunity, advice and actions in there from a previous presentation, but we won't mention that, don't worry. There's a slight error there, but it's all good. Morning, Sujat sir, how you doing, mate? So what is 70-20-10? I mean, obviously, for those of you that are particularly blessed at maths, clearly that comes to 100, and it's sort of, the premise is, it's how many people, or sort of the education company, and in all fairness, a lot of other disciplines recommend you can split your time, especially from an entrepreneurial standpoint. So the principle essentially is you should split your available time 70% on your main activity, 20% on your secondary activity, and then the final 10% on your sort of final activity. So why would you do it? Well, from a property perspective, it's good to have multiple streams of income. So instead of being wholly reliant on one strategy, be that HMOs or service accommodation or single lets or flips, etc., by diversifying your income, you're in a position that potentially, if there were, I don't know, sort of a pandemic, for example, or a recession potentially, or something that happened that massively affected your one niche strategy, then at least you've got sort of two others that you're at least partly invested in already. So potentially you're going to have a different form of income through them, and also you'd have the knowledge and the expertise to potentially sort of build them a bit more quickly because you've already started. So it could be particularly useful. Realistically, the way that it's sort of set up is people normally spend, say that your 70% will be the one you spend 4 days a week on. The 20% will be sort of 1 day a week, and the 10% will be almost more, not necessarily something that you've got actively going, but sort of your next steps, your kind of research project, the kind of thing on the back burner that you're working towards. What I think is really good about it, as well as it kind of inspires growth, because the sort of principle is you work on your 70, and like in any business, you don't, well, potentially if your objective in the business is to build it up to the point where that business runs itself to a degree and you can move on, then essentially your 70%, once that's all set up and running, can then hopefully go on the shelf. Clearly you're still going to be sort of hopefully having a relatively active part in the business, but you've managed to delegate most of the operations and whatnot to the point where the business, if it's a proper systemized business, is near enough running itself minus your sort of massive input. That then means you can take your 20, make that your 70, take your 10, the one that you were researching, and start putting a day a week into that. And it's this kind of a continual evolved process where potentially you can, if you sort of follow it through, you can set up multiple businesses over time just using this strategy and constantly sort of rotating them through. So I think it's really useful because it's a good way to split up your time, but it also kind of focuses you and makes you think, you know what's next? What can I sort of build towards? Potentially, if you like the business you're in, you just sort of don't want to go any further, then that's fine. But I think for sort of entrepreneurs and whatnot that kind of want to diversify their income, now I'm talking today just about property, but I actually have a 70-20-10 for property, but also sort of at a higher level for sort of just my sort of business sort of plans in general. So something I won't go into today, but I might sort of, I'll touch on that in a sort of following video. But yeah, so my 70-20-10 at the moment. So my 70, I'm probably most of you are quite well aware that service accommodation is very much sort of my focus at the moment, and kind of sort of shoehorn two in for the price of one here. So I've got rent to service accommodation, but also SA management. They're sort of very closely aligned, to be honest. So they pretty much take up most of my time. That's my sort of main business at the moment. It's my day to day. My 20 is deal sourcing for SA. So I'm not a deal sourcer yet, as in I don't have a deal sourcing company. I'm not compliant or anything like that. But I am in the privileged position where I'm now working with different really good deal sourcers across South Wales and beyond, actually, who are sort of working hand in hand with obviously providing management, service accommodation management for some of their investors and such. And I do have an aspiration to sort of grow the deal sourcing part of my business, potentially looking at sort of different projects. So to a degree, I'm heavily involved in deal sourcing. While I'm not doing it myself, it's essentially becoming a sort of quite a big tangent of my wider service accommodation business. And then my 10 is buy/BRR to SA. So I'm in the position now where we're looking to sort of purchase our first serviced accommodation units. We've been doing some research, and I've been sort of thinking potentially of just sort of doing a straight purchase, sort of trying to go for below market value, or doing BRR, etc. So that's my kind of 10. It's kind of the one on the back burner, but equally I think we're going to be bringing it forward sort of in time. So yeah, that's fundamentally it, guys, really. That's my sort of 70-20-10. I'd be interested if you've got any questions or comments, or you want any more information, please just ask throughout the day on how the kind of, well, how mine is split up, and equally if you do it yourself, I'd be really interested to know that. And if you don't, maybe just comment below, potentially just sort of saying what kind of 70-20-10 principles you are thinking of putting in place. But yeah, just a short video today, guys. I hope you're all having a lovely day, and hopefully I'll catch you all soon. Cheers. Thank you very much for watching, and cheers, Sujat. I hope you're well, mate. Bye-bye.